Agriculture on the move.
Agricole mouvement.
Agriculture on the move.
Agricole en mouvement.
Agriculture on the move.
Agricole en mouvement.
Agriculture on the move.
Agricole en mouvement.
The Ministry of Agriculture, Food Production, Fisheries, Cooperatives and Rural Development collaborates with a number of ministries. One closer to home is the Ministry of Health. Why the Ministry of Health? Because the officers of the Ministry of Agriculture work directly with the farmers and ensure production is at its highest. When they produce the vegetables and the root crops and the food crops, the Ministry of Health looks at the nutritive value of those crops and the dietary guidelines and to guide Saint Lucians how to eat, what to eat for good health. Then, of course, it takes me to the next ministry, which is the Ministry of Sustainable Development, that housed the Department of Forestry, which was once housed in the Ministry of Agriculture for many years. And you can understand the close collaboration. They ensure that our forests are well maintained. They ensure that planting of trees is done on a regular basis to maintain the forest. Our watersheds are well maintained so that our rivers and streams are flooded with water to create aqua life and for potable water and for the farmers to irrigate, and that results in production. Then we have the Water Resource Management Agency, who deals with policy. They monitor the streams, they tell us when to dam, where to dam, they guide the farmers as to what method of irrigation they need to do. And of course, in the dry season, we are controlled as to the amount of water that we should use. And at the end of the day, it helps the farmer into increasing his productivity, increases food for St. Lucians to eat. Welcome to the program, Agriculture on the Move. I am Phillip Sydney. With me in studio is Mr. Fitzgerald John, who is an officer attached to the Water Resource Management Authority. Welcome to the program, sir.
Yes, thank you, Sydney.
John, 22nd of March was World Water Day. What is World Water Day?
Okay, let me just bring you back. Somewhere in 1992, the United Nations on Environment and Development met in Brazil, Rio de Janeiro. Mm-hmm. And the whole idea was conceptualized. But the day wasn't recognized not until 1 year later, 1993, where they decided to dedicate one day of each year, which is March 22nd, as World Water Day. Mm-hmm. That day basically is just to bring more focus to the issues of water-related issues. Mm-hmm. In as much as we figure that we have a problem here, mm-hmm. but if you go to places like Africa and Indonesia and those big metropolitan countries, they have more issues as relates to water than we have here. Fast forward that to 2000, at a subsequent meeting, all right, they decided to dedicate the year 2005 to 2015 as the decade for water. Yeah. It's part of the whole Millennium Goal, and the whole objective basically is to bring clean potable water closer to the household. All right, with special emphasis during that decade on women. Mm-hmm. Why women? Because women are normally the managers of the homes. Mm-hmm. Okay, the men go out and gather and farm and work. Some of the women do that as well, but the women still manage the home. They're the ones who wash, who bathe the children, who in certain cases have to walk for miles on end mm-hmm. just to fetch a pail of water. Mm-hmm. All right? So the whole goal, the whole aim for that decade is to bring clean potable water much closer to them. Okay. That decade is supposed to end actually this year. Okay, I'm not too sure if it's going to extend, but I want to believe that they have achieved that milestone that they have more or less set out to achieve.
At the end of that program, what will they give a sort of report and say exactly?
Yes,
what
yes,
the achievements?
Yes, they will. Yes, they will. I mean, they will also have a meeting again, of the council, to more give a report, as to the successes, / failures,
Okay.
of
And challenges.
and challenges basically of that program.
Okay. For World Water Day, what did your agency engage in?
Okay, what we have done is that there were series of activities. Oh, what I forgot to add was that they have also attached a theme, okay,
yes.
a theme for each year.
Okay.
All right, and this year's theme is water and sustainable development. What this theme does basically, it more or less captures all the other themes that they have had in the past, like water and the environment, water and biodiversity, water and urbanization. So this theme this year basically is very apt in that it captures all these other little themes. Okay, raising the focus. All right, putting the focus on water and sustainable development and how best water was used to achieve that sustainable development goal that they more or less wanted us to achieve. Okay. Back to my agency, what we have done this year, as per normal, the normal school visits. We have had a few radio interviews, and what is very interesting is that we have some rain gauges, some very simple two-check rain gauges that we decided to hand over to the various primary and secondary schools. Okay, not just hand over, but also install them as well. All right, and we were looking for schools who have a very active agricultural program, because we are seeing that we want that rain or these rain gauges to more or less complement the agricultural program. Not only as it relates to data, but also we're interested in data collection and how the kids themselves can use that data to analyze, maybe to forecast, maybe to know what kind of crops to plant. All right, so this is one of the reasons as to why we were giving out.
You mentioned the gauges. I remember you all sometime last year. I think you all had gauges out there at the rivers, and they were damaged. They were taken away stolen. What has happened since?
Well, it is still in the hands of the police. Okay, we haven't been able to recover none of those that were stolen. Very sadly, some of them were lost during the trough, Thomas, and all this kind of stuff. And we are hoping to replace these. Okay, I know right now there are efforts afoot, all right, to have some of these rain gauges replaced. We are working alongside very closely with the Saint Lucia Met Services, okay, on this World Bank project, where part component of that is to furnish us with some new, rain gauges, water monitoring equipment.
In addition to that, what are the, say for example, go back a year, what were your challenges at the agency?
Go back a year, the challenges we had, we still have it today, and that is in terms of human capacity. Human capacity. We are hoping that, as time goes on, that we will be able to.
But human capacity to do what? I mean, what it is that you need to do and you have not done, or you need to continue doing?
Okay. The work of the agency is not just a matter of going out there and collecting data and putting in data and disseminating data. We have works like, for instance, stream flow. We go out there and we monitor the streams. Okay, we have drought monitoring that we have to do as well.
Hold that point there. You're watching Agriculture on the Move. We are due for a break. Stay tuned.
The Pesticides and Toxic Chemicals Control Board reminds all importers of such chemicals that according to the Pesticides and Toxic Chemicals Act, only chemicals which have been registered and granted approval by the board can be legally imported for use in Saint Lucia. Agricultural and household chemicals that are not licensed for use in Saint Lucia can be harmful to its users and the general public. Before placing orders, importers are advised to check the approved list of pesticides or household chemicals to ensure that they can be legally imported. An import license must be obtained from the Research and Development Division of the Ministry of Agriculture and must be submitted to the Customs and Excise Department to facilitate the clearance of the consignment. For further information, contact the Ministry of Agriculture's Research Division at Union or call telephone numbers 468-5600 or 468-5602.
Welcome back to the program. John, you all have a few challenges, resources, manpower. Could you again continue to elucidate on that?
Yeah. One of the days when the works of WRMA just until data collection, rainfall data collection, we have many projects now on stream. We have water augmentation, where we go out there and look for groundwater. We have the wastewater component now, where we go out there and look for hotspots. Okay, because we have also employed a field scientist. We have the early warning systems, that we have to monitor as well. We have drought monitoring stations that you have, so based on all these parameters, within WRMA, there is a lot of work. There is much more work to be done now than what we were doing before. So human resource capacity is basically a serious challenge for us. We know that right now at this point in time, it's kind of challenging for the government now because of the fiscal conditions. And trust me, we are doing what we can do best with what we have. Okay. But we are hoping that as time goes on, that things will improve. Okay. Basically.
You all are working very closely, I'm sure, with the Department of Forestry.
Yes, we are.
What is happening now at our various watersheds and our stream flows?
Okay. What has happened, as you are well aware, Sid, that the amount of waters that we had flowing in our streams and rivers before, is there no more. Because of the fact of vast deforestation, for agriculture, shifting agriculture, and all this kind of stuff. And we at WRMA do a lot of river monitoring. Okay, we have realized that the level of flows that we had, prior is no longer there. Let me give you a very vivid example. 2 weeks ago, you can recall where I think the officials from WASCO, all right, were very happy, very elated that there was some flow going over the spillway. Okay, so
that's at the dam.
Yes. Okay. Then we went down to the river, just a few hundred meters away from the dam itself, and we did some stream flow measurements. We came up with something in the region of 319 liters per second flowing down. Okay, in layman language, we're looking at, let's say, 70 gallons of water flowing down per second. Last week, Tim, Tuesday we went there. This thing has been reduced from 319 liters per second to 19 liters per second.
Wow.
You understand? Okay, or 70 gallons per second to 4.4 gallons per second. That's how critical it is. Okay, so part of the mandate of WRMA basically is to develop a watershed master plan.
Okay.
And we are doing so in conjunction with forestry. And we're hoping that after that is done, it will help to how you call it? Do best practices as it relates to our forested areas and
some of those forest lands are still in private ownership.
Private ownership.
How do you all work with the private owners to ensure this sustainability of the forest and to ensure we have good river flow?
I'm not too sure as to how forestry, is doing that. But what I know is that forestry has a very good working relationship, with these private landowners. Okay. And I think they're adhering to the principles and practices that more or less has been set down. Now, in as much as you only have a certain level of control where that is concerned, but if you were to go around the island, you would see that now farmers are being more conscious, where you see less deforestation, less trees that are being felled, all this kind of stuff.
But what I find strange, Fitz, is that years ago, our stream flow was very, very heavy.
Oh yes, very heavy.
But of course, we were in the peak of our banana production. Yes. But bananas really is not. I wouldn't say no more, but the acreages have decreased tremendously. So there's no more farming in the forest. But so why we do not have an increase in flow of water?
Because, okay, what the forest does, apart from the nice, aesthetic value of the forest and, the forest being a sink, for carbon, and the forest being a home to many of the species, the forest also help to how you call it, conserve our water. What happened before was that you had lots of forest areas. You had lots of litter. So what would have happened is that when the rain falls, okay, the litter would soften the impact, thereby having that water to infiltrate and then percolate into our rivers. Now that you have bare soil.
That's right.
Okay, you have bare soil, you have less forest area, you have less canopy. So what happens now, the runoff has now increased. So no sooner it hits the soil, it runs up into the river. Nothing goes in.
That's right. Okay.
So farmers now being more conscious of that and now starting to reforest the areas, replant the areas, because against it, that is one of the primary reasons as to why we have much less water flowing through our rivers at the end of the dry season as we had before.
Okay. With the increase with farmers who are doing vegetable production, and also you have farmers who are going into livestock, and that's going to be a bit heavier as the year progresses, because there are a number of projects coming on stream. We have the YEP project coming on stream, which, of course, the more acreage you have, the more water you will require for irrigation. How do you all police, in other words, or you all guide those farmers in terms of damming rivers and streams to ensure that there's equitable distribution of water?
Okay, the Act speaks clearly to not dam in the rivers. Okay, because you have to understand that they have end users. Okay, we're not getting as much water in the rivers as before. So if Sydney were to dam river upstream, what happened to Fitzgerald lower downstream?
All right.
So the Act speaks specifically to that. You must not dam rivers, bottom line. Now, we have what you call the water abstraction license. Okay? What we are urging, because we need to create in our database, all right, so as to know who is on the river, who is abstracting and who is not. Okay, and then we can make the determination as to how many people can abstract from that river.
Okay.
So what we are asking, we're urging farmers to come in and seek a license. They will not pay for the license, okay, because farmers and households actually absorb, from by way of the Act, from paying.
That's right.
But at least if you were to come in, get the license, pay $35. We have in our database, so we will better be able to monitor, each river, each district, each community as to the water usage, within that particular community. Okay, but damming up the river is a no-no.
But can you all work along with the farmer? I mean, if there is the need to do it. I mean, there's nowhere else he can get water for his.
We'll work along. We'll advise them, as to the best, way forward. We make them understand that you are not the only farmer, who's bordering that river as well, and there are other farmers down there. Yeah.
But are you able to monitor that? Because I mean, a farmer way up in Oyo who decide to dam his stream, you all will know that.
No, we would. Like I spoke to a while ago, the human capacity.
Yeah.
Okay, so we are relying on the good nature of persons, who sees it, would call us in, and we have had several calls.
Okay. All
right. We've had several calls.
Yeah, hold that point. You're watching Agriculture on the Move. Back soon.
Agriculture, one of the pillars of St. Lucia's economic development, creating opportunities for earning a living for the farmer and his family. From the field to the kitchen, the St. Lucians are finding creative ways of using fruits, crops, and vegetables grown locally. From local seasonings to special brews, from aquaculture to the cultivation of local herbs for export. A strong agriculture industry strengthens the economy. The country needs your support, so buy local.
Yeah, back to the program, Agriculture on the Move. Fitz, we are now experiencing a drought.
A dry spell.
Yeah, a dry spell, which leads to a drought.
Semantics, yeah. Right.
Okay.
Semantics.
It's really, really dry now. I noticed the trees are defoliating in certain areas. It's a clear indication that it's something to come. Though it rained last night, it rained again this morning, but there's nothing to talk about. You know?
Exactly.
Tell us what's happening now.
The rains that we see, this is what I call fool's rain. If you were to go back to last year we had a very dry year. Okay, if you can recall, between March and May, you know how we had this dry spell. We had this drought, as a matter of fact. We had most of the rains for last year falling in November. Then we went back to December, which was very dry again. And in January we had some rains, and then back to the dry spell again. There's what you call the SPI, okay, which is an index, a very simple index, using 30 years of rainfall data. Okay, and when calculated, okay, over that 30-year period, it shows that the rainfalls that we have now is way below normal, okay, over that 30-year period. All right? Yeah. And coming out of the SPI January, February, it was predicted that we would have this dry spell going right through to March. Okay? We normally work the SPI 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, 24 months, depending on the severity of the situation. So, based on how severe it was, we decided to work the SPI, you know, on a monthly basis. Okay? So we saw January being dry, February being dry, March being dry. We had a meeting, I think, last week, and the SPI actually further indicates that this dry spell is going to go through April, May, June.
Wow.
You know? Now, that was predicted long before by the Caribbean Institute for Meteorology and Hydrology, based in Barbados. And they had already predicted that we are going right through to June, actually, with this dry spell. Because of the rainfall deficit, you know, that has contributed to very low flows. We have heard WASCO lamenting time and time again that there's a severe reduction in the raw water supply. Okay, we have heard certain sayings from the agricultural sector where certain farmers are experiencing, you know, certain hardships. The hoteliers, you know, actually crying now. You know, so Tim, it's there. In as much as we come on the region and we speak to dry spell, and yes, no sooner we leave the radio, you see rains. But what the SPI is saying is that this is not the normal amount of rainfall that we will be getting for that period time, right, for that period. All right? Let's say, for instance, for the month of March, we normally get, let's say, between something millimeters of rainfall. Okay? We have only gotten about 30-something, you know, which is half or less than half. Okay? So based on that premise, and based on the intended forecast, we are asking persons to continue to preserve, because we have been saying so for a while. We are hoping that persons were very prudent, that during the rains that they had over the weekend and this morning, that they were able to harvest some rainwater, you know, which would assist them, you know, in maybe doing laundry or flushing your toilets or whatever it is. But in a nutshell, what you want to say is that the dry spell is there. Okay, Vieux-Fort recently just came out of it because of the rains they had, I think, 1-2 weeks ago. Castries is still going through that dry spell. And we are hoping that by the end of this month, we're supposed to receive somewhere in the region of about 40 millimeters of rainfall. And we'll be hoping that this happens, and that will get us out of that dry spell. If not, it will continue.
But the farmers, I mean, the cry has been out there for them
for years,
to harvest water during the rainy season, so that they can, when in times like this, then they can fall back on that. I mean, have you seen that happening?
Nah, not to the extent that we would have wanted to. the cry has also been there again for farmers to practice good agriculture, to put in place good agricultural practices,
yes,
mulching,
right,
plant cover crops. These things tend to hold the soil moisture much longer.
That's right.
We have been telling farmers or persons who like to flower gardens. I mean, we know you like to flower your like to water your garden, but it is far better to water your garden or your farm during the evening.
That's right.
You understand?
For
6 o'clock, 5. Yeah, exactly.
Yes,
You have less radiation, less transpiration, and you have a longer period for your soil to remain moist, as opposed to doing it in the morning, at 6, and by 11 o'clock in the morning, the sun is blazing, and all that water you just put in there, has left.
That's right.
Even
the backyard people, I mean, in terms of your wastewater, you can now create a little manhole and distribute it into your backyard garden.
Exactly. Yeah. We are seeing persons again, maybe right now what they have to do now is to reconfigure their homes, so that the water from the bathroom or the roof or the sink can now go into a container that they can reuse.
That's correct.
So these are some of the practices that WRMA is pushing, and we've been doing so for years, and we're hoping that persons would take heed not too long from now, because it's only getting worse.
Any final words?
The reality is that water is not as infinite as we thought it was. Okay? Water is life.
That's right.
And we need to treat it like that, life. We need to preserve it where it needs to be. We need to conserve it where it needs to be. And we need to use it sparingly.
Very good. Well said. We have been watching Agriculture on the Move, but before I just end, I just need to share some light on a practice that's been happening. People who are using the weed eaters. Weed eaters are very good if used safely. We use it on the farms, but use it safely. But it can be a danger, especially those persons who are using it by the road, on the roadsides. I had two unfortunate incidents where it hit me on my face. It actually cut my forehead. It could be my eye. I think we need to take a page from Barbados, where there are two people who were using a guard, a 10-foot guard, 10 foot by about 4 feet, 5 feet, and it is held by two persons parallel to the road and parallel to the person using the weed eater, so that whatever pebbles that are flown, it will hit that guard and it stays right there. The people who are actually giving those persons the contract, I think you all need to revisit this, because until somebody's eye is flown out, only then you all will take action. You all need to take action now. Take action now, or else people's vehicles and people's windshields, are going to be cracked. It happened in Freeport recently when I was down there, and then, somebody had to pay for the damages. So, until then, I want to thank Mr. Fitzgerald John for coming to the program, and thank you, the viewers, for viewing, and thank Dwayne and his team for taking this program through for me at this juncture. Thank you again. I'm Phillip Sydney saying goodbye, and see you again.
Bye.
Agriculture on the Move.
Agricole en mouvement.
Agriculture on the Move.
Agricole en mouvement.
Agriculture on the Move.
Agricole en mouvement.
Agriculture on the Move.
Agricole en mouvement.